Speaking of places that people are unlikely to go and why you have to pay, the Sacramento Kings extending
Okay.
Domantas Sabonis for what is the extension amount is 4 years, 191.4 million. I took surprise as pretty negative, unfortunately, but
Yeah, I think that's fair though.
yeah.
I don't think that's like unreasonable to think it that way.
So already 27 years old, pretty durable, tough, like makes people better on offense and affects the game in important ways as a passer, an offensive rebounder, an interior scorer. But again, 27, not much upside to continue to improve, in my opinion. Can't space the floor. I think actually has regressed as a shooter, probably just from a mentality standpoint. There were times when the Warriors were leaving him open in the mid-range and he looked uncomfortable, whereas he started his career bombing threes next to Russell Westbrook. It's bizarre that he looks so uncomfortable shooting the ball. So maybe it can get back to respectable, but I don't think he's going to be a good shooter ever. And he's one of the worst defenders in the NBA. Like, there's just not a way to slice that positively. He has to play center because he can't guard forwards, but he does not protect the rim and, doesn't switch, which goes back to not being able to defend forwards or smaller players. And the Kings are just locking him in way above market rate. I don't think Domantas Sabonis, if he had hit free agency, is getting $40+ million a year. Maybe I'm wrong. Teams are always willing to offer big deals. We just saw Fred VanVleet get a bunch of money. But to me, it just comes down to, there is a difference between appreciating the return to relevancy and rewarding the guys who kind of got you there and just overpaying for, the good vibes of a great season. And it feels like that's kind of what they did here.
Yeah, and I was a little surprised. I mean, maybe just they found out, Kuzma was going to get that offer from DC. Maybe preferred to stay there. Maybe some of the trade options kind of fell dry. I know they brought over that guy from the EuroLeague MVP to their team, and I know there's some optimism around him. But it's to me, this was signaled when they re-signed Harrison Barnes. That was clearly the guy that I think if you wanted to go spend on an upgrade, even with banking on Murray's improvement, that was probably the spot that you would say, okay, let's pay to upgrade here and figure it out, or you make a Beal trade or something like that. And obviously Beal dictated where he wanted to go. He ended up in Phoenix. Congratulations to you, Brendan, for getting to cover just an absolutely. You never have to do draft prep, I guess, for a long time for the Suns. Until 2030, it's 2 presidential cycles. But I think the Barnes thing was the signal that it's this is just going to be run it back season for the Kings. And that puts a lot of pressure on Fox to replicate what he did last year. That puts pressure on Sabonis, assuming his hand is healthy, to kind of do a lot of what he did last year. This becomes a really, really complicated thing for him to do, for them as a team to do over and over again. Even if I like some of the moves, even if I would bank on improvement if I were them, it's not a lock that all just kind of works out. History, I don't think in any sport, banking on things just getting better year over year ever works. Someone's going to get hurt. You're going to have some stagnation. You're going to have it up and down a roller coaster. So I think just assuming in their case, maybe they just felt they got put into this spot, but it's really hard to project out that things just won't figure themselves out.
Well, here's the thing. So Keegan Murray's going to get better. I'm not sure who else is. Maybe Kessler Edwards, on a minimum. I just Davion Mitchell if he keeps coming along, but Malik Monk, Kevin Huerter, those guys are
Fox is 25. Would you assume Fox is done improving in some way?
I think Fox can get better. I also think that there is a not zero chance that he had an outlier shooting season last season and might actually regress. I mean, the dude shot 55% from mid-range. That's just out of this world compared to what he had been.
So this is a good point. So 58.4% on 2-pointers last year. He had never been higher than 53.9 before that. And the year before, in 21-22, he was 52.4. So this was that's a significant
he was
leap.
77% at the rim compared to 65 the previous year, and 51% from mid-range compared to 46 the year before that, and he still doesn't hit his threes.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he won't improve, but I think that there's an equal chance that he actually dips back down as a shooter, that he does get better.
Yeah, especially because he's not like the highest volume free throw guy. 6 a game last year. You almost would want him to get to the line more, but to kind of maybe compensate for some of that. But that doesn't feel super there. I agree with you on this. What I would say with the Sabonis thing is I also kind of just get why they did it. I do get. It's like I get all of this. I get all of the thing. There's not really. Even if there's moves, Brendan, that surprise me or I don't get, I can kind of understand why like 95% of these moves have happened or why things have gone a certain way. I get why the Kings did the Sabonis thing. It's like you reward the guy who I think is a big part of their culture and has really embraced being there. But it does also kind of put you in a spot. And I guess we also, this is another one of those stories I would love to read like after the fact. How did the Kuzma stuff, did the Kuzma stuff just never materialize for them? Was there not a trade that materialized for them that they could use the cap space on in a certain way? And they just feel like after, not tampering, but talking to people before the free agency opened, did they just kind of learn it's like, okay, we don't have a choice but to run this back, and maybe it's on trading Barnes in 6 months and to find our upgrade?
Well, so I hear you on there probably wasn't a better pathway if all of that played out the way that it did than just running it back. And like we can say, oh, Grant Williams, and it's like, okay, I mean, at the end of the day, are you getting 2% better if you bring in Grant Williams over Harrison Barnes? Like, I think you are picking nits at a certain point. So you're absolutely right. Running it back makes a lot of sense. It's not so much the issue. My issue is not that they used the cap space they created to get Sabonis. My issue is that they extended him for 4 more years beyond that.
Yeah.
For 40 to almost 50 by the end of it $1 million. That's the issue that I have. It's not giving the $8 extra million this season, which makes perfect sense because he was only getting paid $22 million. That is like not even close to all-star level.
Bargain. Yeah.
So I get rewarding him. They had money to do it. Why not? It's more the extra 4 years, 191 beyond that, where it's just like, I just straight up don't know if he'll be worth that. So I don't know why you would be in such a hurry. Why not do 2 years beyond this one, or 1 or whatever, something where you're still giving the dude a lot of money to reward him for what he did, but you're not kind of like trapping yourself into the deal. We'll see how it goes though. I think the Kings are going to be good next year. I don't think it's a terrible handicapping awful move. It's just something they didn't have to do, and they did it anyway.
Yeah, for a guy that is like all-star level, but not like a lock to necessarily be an all-star year after year after year.